It's always these graders, these big excavation guys that really want to say, "Hey, where's your husband? Isn't he in charge?" And I'm like, "Yeah, no, I'm in charge. Step back. I pay the bills." So you really have to set that straight. And it's not being a bitch or arrogant or anything. You just have to let them know who's in charge so they know who to cater to. So that's part of it, that intimidation factor and that need for control. I get it. I'm a business owner too. I want to have full control. You just have to have thick skin. And I think that's super important. If you're super sensitive to those kinds of things, probably construction management is not for you.
What if I told you the secret to financial freedom might not be buying more properties, but learning how to renovate and force valuation like a pro? Today's guest went from building homes to building wealth, and she is going to show us how you can too. I'm so excited to have Dawn Mates on the show today. She's a general contractor and investor and is blowing up the internet as Women Builder Dawn, teaching people how to not leave money on the table when doing construction. What I love most about Dawn is that she is empowering women to ask the right questions, challenge the status quo, and in an industry obviously dominated by men. Dawn, so good to have you. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, dear. It's really a joy to speak with you and your audience. And I think you have so many wonderful speakers that we can all learn from and get inspired by.
I have your book here. I'm a big fan of your book. You see the bookmarks. Nailed it. And there are so many great topics in there, but really the underlying theme is how do we handle it as a woman in construction? I love the term, and there's a whole chapter dedicated to it, the power of the purse, which ultimately means I'm the one in control. I'm paying for it, so I hold all the cards. And that really is in my head all the time as I'm talking to contractors and working on construction. As a woman in construction, I'm sure you've seen it all. Do you have any good stories that you could share with us and our listeners? And any times where maybe it had to deal with pulling the power of the purse.
I love that. I love that term. It is so significant when it comes to construction. I just wanted to start a little bit backwards and go every single real estate investment involves construction. So if you have a handle and have control over your construction project, you can usually generate a great amount of cash flow if you're following your budget and your plan and your underwriting, of course. Stories? Oh my god, I got so many stories, it'll probably spin your head because 'cause I've been at this a long time. I think a few stories that stick out, they all have a common thread. What's really interesting is that all of us, when we have our own businesses, want control and want power over our own destiny. Wouldn't you say that's true? Because most of the trades are all male, I mean 99.9% of them, and you're dealing with strong individuals, there's a lot of control issues. When I talk about the power of the purse, basically what I'm talking about is as women or men, or it doesn't really matter, you fall prey to the intimidation in terms of bullying and things like that, that the contractors play this game with you because they want control. They just don't want their income and their revenue sidelined by an owner or an investor. Everything that my stories are all about is that either trying to get a laugh, trying to get to take over a project. I mean, I've had so many things that today they would call them sexual harassment, right? You have to have thick skin if you want to learn how to do this and do it really well. I mean, in the book, there's many stories from a general contractor that cut the lots on all of the properties that he was selling. He knew the lot that I bought very intimately, I thought. He said, "Yeah, before you build your house, there's some rocks in that slope, and you probably would be best at dynamiting that." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." And I'm like, "Okay, I've never done that. Do you want to help me?" And of course, he's this big, brawny, grading guy. And first mistake I made, I believed him without proof, without seeing some geosoils reports, and without really pursuing it more because I was in a great hurry. And that's the other mistake. Whenever you're in a hurry, slow down, take a breath, and really think through things. So we blow up the side of this slope, and lo and behold, there's no rocks there. And he's like, "Oh, sorry. Oh my God." And I almost died because there was a lot up above me. I could have been sued. But anyway, it all turned out fine, but that's just one story of many, many, many stories.
Wait, so he suggested dynamiting a rock and it there are rocks and there was not any really
Yeah.
there.
Oh, I
He
miscalculated
told
was his I miscalculated, right? It's always these graders, these big excavation guys that really want to say, "Hey, where's your husband? Isn't he in charge?" And I'm like, "Yeah, no, I'm in charge. Step back. I pay the bills." So you really have to set that straight. And it's not being a bitch or arrogant or anything. You just have to let them know who's in charge so they know who to cater to. So that's part of it, that intimidation factor and that need for control. I get it. I'm a business owner too. I want to have full control. Most of the stories surround that. Some of them are comical. Framers standing way on top of trusses. And I think you probably read that in the book, dear, didn't
Mhm.
you? Where the guy's standing on top, and of course, he didn't have any underwear on, like that was the he's like, "Hey, Don, look up here." I'm like, "Oh my silly stories like that over the years, and you just have to have thick skin, and I think that's super important. If you're super sensitive to those kinds of things, probably construction management is not for you.
Do you think that's the hardest part of being a woman in construction is the you have too thin of a skin?
I guess it would be, but I grew up in a blue collar family, kind of lower, really low middle class, maybe lower class. And I was never afraid of four-letter words and like guys harassing in a joking way. It never really bothered me. My dad was a plumber, and in plumbing, everything is about genitalia. I don't know if you know that. I mean, you're
I
talking.
didn't know that, but that's
Oh, it's
thank you for
true. There's nipples on a pipe, there's cock and ball, there's a weenie you put in the pipe to blow up the pipe so it doesn't. I mean, there's a ton of things in plumbing. It's crazy. So I kind of grew up in that rough and tumbly world. So nothing really fazed me. And I didn't really realize it until I was more of a unusual general contractor.
speaking of genitalia, there's an article on your website with a with a with the name "Penis Envy Blaming"
Yeah,
or
yeah.
"Telltale Signs of Penis Envy Mindset." And I love how you break it down. Can you talk a little bit more about
It's
that?
been such a long time that I put
There's
that on there.
you outline mansplaining,
Yeah.
handyman
Yeah.
syndrome,
Yeah. Yeah.
disempowerment, hearing loss.
Mhm. I tell you what, guys lose their hearing when you're trying to tell them something, and part of it is we, women, men, doesn't matter, need to learn how to communicate with the contractor. When you have a handle on your value add construction project and you know how to talk to the contractor, you're gonna win every time. So what I mean by that is shorter sentences. Slow the sentences down and try to lower the volume because that's what they hear better. When you get nervous, dear, you start talking really fast and then you and
Totally.
guys, that doesn't even register, like, they turn it off. I hate to be so male female, but it is absolutely true, and you have to kinda go back to that and say, "Okay, how can I be the best investor? How can I relay the most information to them that I can?" And also women especially, guys too, but they tell too much of the backstory, and I think that's part part of that communication piece. I'll ask a painter, "Gee, which color do you think is better, this gray or this gray?" And they're like, "I don't care, lady. Just pick a freaking color." They're there to do their job.
Is it
That's
affordable
what
gray? Is it
Yeah. My favorite is Foggy Day from Dunn Edwards. It's the
Ah.
best color in the whole wide world. That's the idea behind that, is to really strap on your confidence and say, "You know what? I've done hard things. I've managed projects before and I can do it again."
You coach women, you have a coaching program for women to get really a hands-on with renovating. So what would you say is the most common fear that you see with women trying to step in and get into construction and do the hard, hands-on renovations?
A number of things, using big numbers, talking about renovations, especially in Southern California. Hey, that's a big number. Doing the
Everything's a
budget.
big number in Southern California.
I know, right? Yeah, as you know, those numbers, it's just a number. It's still labor and materials, and it's still very, very basic. The other thing is not ever, people do it all the time, pay in advance. Never for labor. Sometimes you have to, purchase cabinets in advance, but that's usually with a legit company. You're not giving a check to the guy who's gonna install them. You are going to purchase the cabinets elsewhere, if that's your scope of work, and then, your carpenter is going to do the labor, or they have a labor crew. But never, ever, ever, I can't stress it enough, dear, I just don't know why people, I mean, I think the reason is they wanna be liked, and then if a contractor finally shows up, they think, "Oh my god, we gotta get this guy, like, right now, I'll give him a check." But that actually is disempowering. You're disempowering your tradesperson, and then it's just an opportunity for them to put you on the back burner. They got some money, and it's a human trade.
Then you've lost the power of the purse if you pay them up.
Lost it. You've
Totally lost.
absolutely lost all your power, and it kinda works in reverse. You think money's motivating, but it's not. They have to do the work. It gives them a sense of integrity and purpose and value when they do a job and they do a good job. It motivates them, and I think we miss this as investors so often because you're busy. You don't wanna deal with this. You just want this dude to take over and do a good job, read your mind and everything else, because often they can get started, but the wrong thing to do is always to give them a check to start. Nope, I don't ever.
Not even 50%.
Nope. Oh my God, no. No, wrong.
I haven't done that, but I get asked that, like, "We need 50% down." I'm like, "Really?"
Yeah, no, you show up here. The big thing is folks say, well, he wants to buy materials. Well, then, if he's a legitimate business owner, he can buy the materials or you can buy them directly and he can go pick them up. And when he produces the receipt, he can get reimbursed. But come on, let's face it, everybody has a credit card that's a 30-day cycle. So in the meantime, you can do some labor too on top of it.
Your book really outlines A to Z construction, like, for someone that is pretty new to construction, which
Mhm.
as I was new to my construction project, I read it very thoroughly, and it was very, very helpful, explaining everything from payments to liens and adding yourself as an additional insured,
Uh,
getting lien waivers when you're all done. A lot of it does touch on women communicating, and I wanna go back to that. So, can you talk a little bit more about that? Women communicating, because you have, like, a few tips in there.
Yeah, I've talked about it a little bit, but lowering your voice. Have you ever heard on the news some of these news women talk on the television or cable or whatever? Their voices are generally lowered. They are
Really?
yes, if you notice. Harrison, the black gal, her name
Uh-huh.
is Harrison. If you notice how low she talks, and she has incredible respect in her field and even other speakers on stage, the lower they talk, not as if they're a man, but if they don't get really squeaky and they keep a calm voice and a low voice and talk in shorter sentences and actually give feedback to the person they're interviewing. Oh, so you said this, so they could confirm was just said, so there's clear communication. And these small tips are really, they go such a long way. It's just psychology 101, but we forget.
That's a good tip. Not softer, just a lower, deeper tone.
I notice when I'm nervous, it goes up to a higher level.
Oh, yeah.
Like
Same here.
today,
I do
I'm
that
a
all the time.
little bit, yeah, I'm a little bit nervous starting, so I have run-on sentences and, I talk more. So if you can contain those sentences to shorter sentences when you're talking to contractors especially, "What I need today done is this." And I tell women and men, make a list on a piece of cardboard or a 2 by 4 that's on site or a piece of wood anywhere in a big, fat Sharpie. The guy comes there and finished carpenter. Here are the 10 things I need you to do today. Now, I know that sounds first grade, but it works every time, every time. And, we're talking about not when they're starting, like a new build or something, of course, they have blueprints to follow, but when you're there and he's doing pickup work, that's the point in time when you're gonna give them a physical list. Don't text it. The best way is this big letters on a big piece of cardboard. I know it sounds so rudimentary, but it is. It works every time.
Just in your face, very clear.
Then they can take their pen and cross it off. Because I don't know how many times, dear, met a tradesperson at the job site, and I've said, "Here's what I need you to do." And if it's verbal, they don't have any way to remember that. You know, I can text them, but they still, they're listening to music or whatever, and then they guess. But if I have a list and I actually nail it up on the wall or or somewhere where it's very visible, they cannot walk away and say that they don't remember, they didn't get the list. So make it super simple.
Yeah.
My experience is tradesmen are very basic. They want to work, they want to house their family, a roof over their head, and have a nice life just like you do.
Keep it simple,
Keep it
straightforward.
simple, straightforward, and this is why I love construction.
Mm.
After all these years, it's fairly simple to figure it out, and once you've had success, you can duplicate and duplicate and duplicate.
You've been doing construction for quite a while, right? Take us back to maybe, like, the first property that you worked on, or maybe a very interesting property that you worked on, either one.
I got my license in 1987. If you did the math, I don't know, it's 35 years or something. My first 2 projects, well, the first one was a spec home. And basically, spec means a speculation build, and it's from ground up, new construction. So I buy the land, I get the land, I take the loan out with the hopes that I'm going to build this great house and someone's going to love it and buy it. That's what I did. I was 28, 29. And then I did it again, and I did with hard money, which was back then, nobody really knew what hard money was, but, it was a little more intense. It was kind of like, "Break my knees if I don't pay back. They'll come and
The gangsters are coming for you
the
if you don't pay.
gangsters." Absolutely, absolutely, and it was super I had complete confidence because I grew up around construction. My parents built a few spec homes in the summer months when we were kids. I grew up in the Midwest, so it was not intimidating to me, but when I look back, I'm like, "Oh my god." They actually laughed at me and said, "Hey, let's just see what she can do." I mean, it was the crazy it's rough, that's how it was, but I didn't mind. I was like, "Okay, great, let's go."
Well, you showed them.
Yeah. Well, I think that they were surprised, but, it went really, really well. The construction bug bit me, and I've been in it ever since, and I just really, really love it. It's the fastest way. Let me trace back value adding, which is adding something with some form of construction, is the fastest way to financial freedom. I guess what I mean by that is if you look at all of the really wealthy billionaires out there, that's what they do. They value add everything, everything in their life, not just real estate. They value add it. They figure out a way to improve, and whether they construct something else on it, add value to whatever it is, and then they resell it or keep it for the long haul and try and monetize it.
That's the secret, or not so
That's the
secret, but
secret.
that's the
That's
key.
the
The
secret.
key to
Look at
success.
Ken McElroy. Every building he has is yes, he makes sure it cash flows up front, but he always has in his system some way to value add in that property or on that property. He's building spec apartments right now. He's gonna monetize every single one of them. You know he is.
So when you're working on a house, what is the fastest thing you can do to add value?
A single family home?
Yes, like say a single family home. What is the thing that can add the most value that's worth it?
So small value, mini value added things like redoing the kitchen, redoing the bathrooms, those two biggies. And every real estate agent will tell you that. Even redoing the landscape, the first appeal and painting. But that's not really the value add I'm talking about. I'm talking about adding square footage, having more beds or whatever you want to call it to rent out that actually create more substantial revenue. ADUs, junior ADUs, every municipality calls it slightly different, but that's the idea. And my personal preference for real estate investing is small multifamily. I enjoy it. It's a niche that is you still can get the 1 to 4 residential loans on, which is so much easier to get into. Unlike the commercial that are requiring 50% or more down, there's a whole group of people that are really good at that. I'm good at the small multi where I still have great financing options for financing it over the long haul. If I was going to give someone advice, find a duplex somewhere and then add at least 1 to 2 more units. You'd be shocked, just shocked at the value, the praised aftermarket value when you're done. And I
Good
can give
tip.
you an example if you like.
Yes, please.
Yeah, sure. It's more fun with an example. So I bought a duplex near in the village near the beach and walkability. A million, I think it was 1,100,000. Renovated the duplex. Then I took a permit out and added a third unit ADU. I bought it for 1,1, added I don't know what it was, 300, 350, something like that. When you add all that up, it's let's call it 1.5. Throw in 50,000, 1,550 for financing and hard money. The appraisal came back at 2.4. So
Ooh, nice.
that's the fastest way. And this isn't just a one off, that's the fastest way. And this is what I'm talking about. It doesn't rely on timing, it doesn't rely on, if the market's in your favor. It's buying something and then reselling it, buying something and getting a new price, reselling it. It's what Gary V talks about, going to garage sales, picking the stuff up, and then reselling it on eBay. That's a very simplified, oversimplified
I've heard
version.
about that with couches, free couches from Craigslist and then reselling them for money.
Yes, yes, and it's remarkable. That's a value add, right? You're creating more value. Maybe you clean it, fix it up, whatever. But I'm talking about actual square footage you're adding in real estate. And it's just is the fastest way that I know of that I would say beginner, moderately successful real estate investor can do. Like most of us, dear, we've had a little experience and now we want more. We want to learn something that's chewable. We wanna learn something that we can digest, and that's perfect. If you have a combination of the property with a little land, and some of these municipalities are giving you greater leeway on the setbacks, then you can take a permit out, and of course, there's a whole process surrounding that, but you could take a permit out within the matter of 4 months, you can create a brand new building with brand new rentable space.
4 months? Is it that fast? I heard permits are pretty fast these days for ADUs.
Well, they can be. It depends if you outsource the ADU build. You do it yourself. I'm usually a couple months for the permit and then 2, 3 months for the build.
That's still pretty
Mhm.
good. Pretty
It's
good.
very good. Inside 1 year. You don't have to wait that 5 years before the appreciation goes up. You've captured it inside 1 tax year, and that's the beautiful part. It's really fantastic, and then you do a cost seg on the duplex, and you get that money off of your taxes.
And then do you roll the profits, the capital gains into another property?
You can. What I've done in Southern California, sometimes if you take out all the cash, then it doesn't cash flow as well. I'm after the cash flow, so I leave it in. But what I do is I cross collateralize it. So let's say I found another duplex. I talk to my same money lender and he cross collateralizes that original one. He knows there's $1 million in value there, appreciable value. So he cross collateralizes it and then he doesn't require as much down.
That is a hot tip.
Yeah, it's really so smart. I don't know, my piece of work is constantly putting on a different hat. You have the finance hat, you have the contract hat, you have the negotiating hat, you've got so many different disciplines in construction. I just love it. You talk to the professionals, the white collar, and you talk to the workforce people, and I just love every minute of it. It's super fascinating to me.
What do you see as the top mistake that investors make with while doing construction?
Not getting 2 bids, at least 2 to 3 bids on every trade. Paying in advance and not putting in enough contingency, 10 to 15% every project.
Buffer in the budget.
buffering the budget.
How can you tell that contractor might be ripping you off?
You know what's so funny? I mean, I've had some guys that worked with me for years, and then all of a sudden something went south. But when I abide by, I pay them when the work is done, not before, ever. I've not gotten burned. Now, I've had some crazy guys that like, it looks like he's high, you know? And I'm thinking, this is in particular a tile guy, and I'm thinking, what do we do with this? I took a step back and he wasn't violent or anything like that, but he was just, I was just like, hey, you know what? Maybe you could just take the rest of the day off. You just come back
You
next
might set
Monday.
the tiles crooked, guy.
Oh, he was happy. He was a happy guy all the time. But I've really never gotten to too much trouble, usually because the saving grace, and I just wish everybody would understand this. Never pay in advance before that hurdle of work is completed. Never.
Mhm.
And even some guys will be very wonderful people and you'll want to pay them, but you say, well, if especially if it has a permit, wait till we get inspected. They know the game, dear. They know the game. Get the inspection first, then I'll pay you. Boy, do they move faster. They move really fast to complete it. And that's
Mm.
what you want. Isn't that what you want?
Yeah, you do want them to move, but I want them to do it right.
Well, they will. I mean, because you're going to get an inspection, not just by you, although that's important, but by the inspector. And if you have
Right.
any questions, you meet that inspector and say, hey, is this right? I'm not sure if this looks right. And I've done that even as a general to the inspector, not to the contractor. I'll say, sure, it's
Mm.
right. So those are the few things that I think that people kind of hiccup on and, make a mess and get burned. Almost 100% when someone says, I got burned by a contractor. Okay. Did you check their license? Do they have a license? Never, ever hire a friend. Just don't do it. Just don't hire the neighbor. Don't do it. It's just construction 101.
Some investors try to DIY it. What do you think investors can do hands-on, and where should they never do hands-on?
Never do hands on the safety trades, electric, plumbing, even a foundation. You should hire those out for sure. And roof. The DIY is more the pretty stuff. Do the painting. Sometimes they'll want to do the finish. That's fine. If a door doesn't close, it's your own fault. But the safety trades, you really need to hire out for sure. Do the design, I guess I call it decorating or the design part. That's the most fun for a lot of women. They like that visual piece.
I do enjoy the design part, although I go through, like, 10 options and back and forth and back
Yeah.
and forth.
Yeah, and in the end, it probably doesn't make any difference. Either one of them is a good choice.
Yes. What is something that contractors know that they will never tell an investor upfront?
That they're taking a vacation.
That's an unfortunate one. They're like, "Where is he? Bob's
Yeah,
not here
that
today." Oh,
yeah,
I'm
exactly. That he just got a DUI. Let's see what else. Being dishonest about who they are and whether they have a license or not. One of the things I've been kind of fooled on once, just once, is like, oh yeah, I have a license, and he showed me the number, and I looked it up. Sure enough, it was definitely a license, legitimate license, but it was his buddy. It was his buddy's license, and so I had to
Uh,
call his friend and say, hey, are you allowing him to use your license? Because you're gonna have to pay his taxes.
mhm.
And he's like, no.
No.
So you so that happens a lot in the industry because they know they're supposed to have a license. So they will do anything to not have to sit down and take a test.
What happens if they do work and they're using somebody else's license? Who and then something goes wrong, who is liable?
Well, first of all, you should check it. You should
Yeah.
check with the state contractor board. And if they can't produce a card or a license, if they just say, yeah, I don't know, they have to put something in writing for their bid. And text it is not a bid. Yeah. When they text you, it's not a legitimate bid. It might be a binding verbal, something they've typed out verbally on the text, but it just still doesn't end up in court. So
Yeah.
what happens is the tradesman is vulnerable because if he doesn't have a license, he can be ripped off by you. You belligerent people, they just won't pay him. And he has no rights to it in the court of law. and the other way around where, you don't have any way to save yourself if you're hiring a illegitimate contractor. How are you going to get him to perform? And then on top of it, if you've paid him in advance, well, see you later. That's just not even going to happen. So licenses are to protect both sides. And it really does make sense. Have I hired unlicensed? Sure. Again, it's not a really, I would not advise it by anybody who's starting out at all, ever.
Do your due diligence, folks.
Do your due diligence,
Check your
especially.
licenses.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't pay
Especially this,
upfront.
and insurance. Don't forget
And
that.
insurance, yeah.
Yeah. I just wanted to say a couple things that, this is the contractor in me, but really you have to zoom out and it's the real estate investing. If you have the knowledge and wisdom about the contractor piece, you can literally tick your vertical that you want to go into. If you understand the mentality of the general contractor, if you understand the process, then you can literally just produce all sorts of value add that you can do over and over and over again.
Yeah, because it applies to everything, every project. I mean, I work on mobile home parks, it applies there,
Yeah.
constructing lots.
You have to understand what's going on in a sewer system when you have mobile home lots. Are you doing flat land and creating RV or mobile home parks?
I'm working on existing parks and then infilling, so prepping the lots and,
Oh, I
making
love
the
it.
lots usable so that
Yeah.
we can bring in a new home.
Do you do the rezoning?
No, it's tough for mobile home zoning. If it's not already zoned mobile home ready, it's probably pretty tough to work with the city to get new zoning.
But don't you agree? You have to know something about construction
Definitely have
or
to know,
how
but you're talking to construction people at some point, even if it's a house, and then you have a leak or anything.
it's all about the utilities. It's all about, making sure it's a safe place to live.
I wanna go back to the small multifamily though, because 'cause I'm super curious about that and the ADUs. Adding ADUs is such a hot thing these days, and then you talk a lot about that on your Instagram.
Mhm, mhm.
How big of a lot if I say I go with your recommendation and I buy a duplex, how big of a lot am I looking for in an open space in the back so that I can add an ADU?
I like to think about it as in order to do usually a duplex is the minimum that I like to buy. And the old duplexes are usually just one big rectangle. 6,600 square feet is the smallest lot really that I'm comfortable with adding a third unit. And even that you have to do maybe a skinny ADU. Again, it's up to the zoning. You have to check that, but 6,600 square feet is the minimum. And then I have a fourplex with an extra studio kind of an area, that's probably 7,800 square foot lot. You can
Okay.
fit quite a bit. Now that's in North County Coastal. City of San Diego allows two-story ADUs, so that you can double up. Up in North County, they don't allow the two-story, bottom ADU, top ADU. There's not that complete density that San Diego City. So you have to be careful where you buy. And I tell people, look, the very first thing you do before you even make an offer, go to the city, ask them. I mean, it's not good enough what the real estate agent puts on the sheet. You have to go physically ask them, "What will you allow me to build here?"
Yes, yes, what it's zoned for and then what's allowed and how many units. I mean, there's recent changes in the ADU laws. I think you can build up to 8 units, right? Onto one property?
Again, it depends. City of San Diego, yeah. Carlsbad, not so much.
Yeah, because you can't build up.
And so what they do is they'll manipulate the zoning. They'll call it, like, for instance, the village, and the village has its own rules and regulations, what they deem the village is. And then they go a little bit farther out to the barrio of Carlsbad, and that is a certain section that you can't do two-story. It just depends on the zip code you're working in. It's not a blanket, "Hey, let's go build eight units on a piece of property."
Right, right. You have to check with the city.
You absolutely do. And then think about it, 8 units, that's called a commercial loan.
So you can jump from building, saying 4 units and then all of a sudden it'd be 8 units and I have a commercial.
I would check with your lender, but, I don't know. Since I've been born, 1 to 4 is residential, and then more
Yes,
than that is
yes, yes,
commercial. Different set of rules when you're financing.
yes.
That's my sweet spot, though. I love 1 to 4.
I'm gonna have to look more into that. Sounds pretty enticing.
It is because you just have more freedom, and to be really honest, when you're talking about the renter side of things, the renters don't want to live in apartments. Many of the millennials, they're tired of sharing 2 to 3 to 4 walls. They're tired of that. They want a tiny bit more space, and
Mhm.
especially this is why ADUs are so appealing. It's a standalone. That's the term that they use that I've started to incorporate. This is a standalone house. Is it an ADU? Yeah, you're sharing property with somebody else, but they don't care. These great, awesome renters, they
Yeah.
want to stand alone. And this is why it's so popular.
I have a few rapid fire questions for you. What is one tool every investor should own?
Physical
A hammer.
tool. No, I like my Milwaukee drill. Yeah, it's always in my car in the back seat. My grandkids are always like, "Grandma, how come you got so many tools back here?" It's usually the drill for sure.
What is the worst renovation disaster you've seen?
Well, of course, there's the house you demo and everything's eaten by termites. The termites are holding it all together.
Oh,
Hold
yikes.
hands. And then one time, dead cat fell out of the ceiling, and I've had raccoons, like, living in
Oh.
with certain parts. That's no fun. But probably the worst is when you just bought or invested in a 1950s cottage, and you look underneath, and it was such a good price, and you had to move fast. The foundation has just rocks holding
Oh,
holding
no. That's so costly.
the craziest stuff. No foundation, no pier footings, it's just rocks holding the it's
Oh,
actually fun
yikes.
hysterical. But you can't panic, you just have to take a deep breath and go, "Okay, contingency."
And contingency.
Here's a little tidbit. The older the house, the greater the contingency. The older it is, older than the '70s, then you need more contingency for sure.
If money didn't matter, what would you be your dream project?
I'd want to build a 100-unit apartment building.
You can do
But
it.
right now, it's pretty expensive,
Yes.
you know.
Alright. What's a piece of advice for women of starting in real estate?
Start DIY, even if it's just a closet you're renovating. Start with a DIY and have respect for the labor, have the respect for that physicality of it. Slowly build up your skill set, hire a plumber, hire an electrician, do one at a time, ask questions, learn the trade, and then start to go outward. Maybe hire another tradesman, hire a tile guy. If you've already done the tile work, I don't think everybody should do everything, that's for sure. But once I tried to do a tile, oh my god, it looked so bad, dear. It looked
Mm.
so bad. I was like, "Call my tile."
That looks like a hard job. I don't think I would wanna
It's
do
a
that job.
very hard job, and you get,
Tedious, hard job.
you get it all over you. I hate it.
Mhm.
I'd rather dig a trench than do that. Once you do a few DIY on a small scale, then you're ready to, and you can do this quickly. Then you're ready to, and you have a great respect for the tradespeople, because after all, they are the people. They use their back to make you money and to make your home nice. So whether it's a rental or your personal home, they are working their tails off to produce something beautiful for you. So you really have to have that downward ultimate respect. And then from there, in turn, you're treating them kindly. And then you will have your own team if you treat them well and they do a good job too. From there, you start to build the team out, and then you can take on larger projects. Every time you do a new project, try one more who, not how person to hire, one more tradesperson, one more expert. Maybe it's an architect, one more thing to add to your tool belt. I don't know if does that help? I mean,
No, yeah,
I think
that was
step
great.
by step. Yeah,
Yes.
step by step. Just
Good.
go on an outward trajectory.
Don, thank you so much. This was incredible. Where can they grab your book?
Go to Amazon, and it's called Nailed It. It is an easy read. It's a short-ish read, but it's really full packed of all kinds of stuff. And also on Instagram at Woman Builder Dawn. WOMANBUILDER,
And where can people learn about your construction coaching program?
at Woman Builder.
Oh, sorry, you just mentioned women builder.
Yeah. www.womanbuilder.com.
Yeah.
So I loved it, dear. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Dawn. Thanks for joining today's episode of Invest in Rome. If you found value in this episode, please share it with a friend. New episodes dropping weekly. Like, follow, and subscribe. Until next time, I'm Dear No. Keep investing, keep roaming, and keep living the life you deserve.